writing it down, writing down what is due in the month and when,
Mm-hmm.
um, took a lot of the gotcha out of
Mm.
our month.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was, I think, I think writing it down was the biggest tool. And not just our debts, but like, how does the month come at us?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not, this debt payoff strategy. I had to understand the money flows.
All right, welcome y'all. If you have big dreams on your vision board, you might have put it on your 2024 vision board, or you might be getting ready for your 2025 vision board, and you have things on there like getting free from debt or moving abroad or any other dreams that you are feeling are really big, but you feel a bit overwhelmed and what to do with them, then this video right here is for you. So today I have a guest. I'm so excited about my guest. Her and her husband are actually working on their dream to move abroad, but they decided this one thing that we're about to talk about is the one thing that they needed to really help them like skyrocket, quantum leap to get like the big dreams that they wanted. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Welcome, Dee. I'm so excited to have you today. Welcome.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having
having
me.
me. I want to repeat that because I said at the beginning, today my guest and her husband are moving abroad, but they decided to do this one thing. And I want to make sure that everybody is listening, is understanding that that one thing is a budget. And that
It really
budget
is.
and how you use it is so important to get to the things you want. This is not magic. This is strategy. This is a tool. This is something that is you can use to take this from idea to action.
Car, how to buy a new car. Like they don't do that anymore.
Right.
But he took the time. I remember into college having those high school notes to reference as I was making decisions. What a powerful impact a teacher can have
Yeah.
with students.
Yeah.
So that kept me from getting credit cards.
Mm.
It helped me to see that even if I didn't really understand banking and investing, like I should be thinking about those things, even though
Mhm.
there really wasn't a lot of talk about those, those kinds of things. I knew debt was bad in my
Mhm.
family. At least I knew that.
Right. Right.
But it was something that you just kind of learned to live with.
Yeah.
There was good debt that you just learned to live with so that you can do the things in daily life. The second happened. My husband and I were members of a church, and let's see, if our son was, let's see, so I think we may have been married about 6 years,
Okay.
and we encountered Financial Peace University.
Okay.
And so that was the second pivotal thing that really gave us talk time and community to
Yeah.
begin to think, not just I don't want debt, but like how do you
Right.
not, so but I had some big debts. I mean, my
Right.
husband didn't enter the marriage with the big debts, but I did. And so I think those two pieces, I have to say to people, if you don't have any information, it's not too late. If you have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of information and haven't been able to find a way to get a toehold
Yeah.
into your debt repayment or the financial vision that you have, it's never too late. What can you do today? And so 5 years ago, we started with what could we do? What could we really do today? As our daughter was able to go to college because
Yeah.
we talked a lot about community college, which
Yeah.
made a smaller impact on our family budget. And so we were able to take a little bit. And so those baby steps were really important. And then having a roadmap was so important
Yeah.
as people who were 20 years, 19, 20 years into their marriage to say, we're going to do technically the impossible.
Right. Right. Especially after years and years and years of the world and our culture being like, well, that's not that big of a deal. You just got to learn how to manage it. You just got to do this. You just. And not really acknowledging that it's digging not just people within our actual country is in trillions of dollars a day. So we probably shouldn't be the ones like giving anybody advice about that because a lot of us have not really seen the freedom from it. So I want to go
Right.
back for a second. When you think about that 5 years ago, like what were you feeling? What was confusing about managing your finances before you got this plan?
Let's see. So I think our plan had holes in it because I was waiting to like make more money. So
Mm,
the more money would give us the space to be able to then take things and put it somewhere. And what I began to realize is that there were some little tweaks we could make
mm,
to, I mean, like it really was like moving the same pieces around, but
mm,
the how we moved the pieces
yeah.
helped us to free up. So one strategy, one emotion that I felt like I dealt with was as a parent, I felt guilty
Mm, hmm.
that I couldn't give my kids what I'd always visioned. And I was
Yeah.
like, there's not a whole lot of time before they are completely out of our homes
Yeah.
for me to make these things. So I felt motivated because our first two are less than 20 months. They are 19 months apart.
Wow.
So she was headed to college, and then I had one right behind
Right
them.
behind.
And then 3 years behind, I was like, if we've just been making it, we're not going to be able to make it with three kids in college at the same time.
Hmm.
And so I think a little bit of that guilt, a little bit of the fear of, we never wanted to repeat my debt journey, which
Mm,
was my debt was student loans. And so
hmm.
I was just like, oh, we have got to get this right,
Right.
because that was the gift we wanted to give to them is that you're able to enter the world. Now, if you choose, these other forms of debt, it's not because we haven't talked to you about payday loans and other things. And
Right.
so and it was, I think emotionally, it was those things. I think,
Yeah.
and then I think there was a bit of fear. So those, one of the things that we learned was that you need to go and take a look at your credit report. Go
Hmm.
look and see what you actually owe. And there was a lot of fear and shame. And I mean,
Mm,
I was just like, I don't want, I didn't grow up, saying one day I want to have a six-figure debt on my credit report. Nobody usually starts off that
right.
way, and so it was having to say I am willing, and I am a couple, but I think I'm going to speak that each my husband had to come to that, and I had to come to that, and then we had to come together to say we're not going to fear data. We're not going to
Hmm.
fear information.
Hmm.
It's what we do with that information that's going to be what's impactful. So I think that you think you're looking at a mountain, and it was. You didn't have any idea how high the mountain is until you start gathering the data. And so
Yeah.
that was where I think we started to have get a little bit of a teeter totter. We weren't in that trying to maintain anymore. We had a willingness
Yeah.
to tip the scales toward knowledge,
Yeah.
and then let's see what we can do with that once we have it.
I appreciate that so much. I remember for myself, when I got Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book, one of the first steps is that you have to like take a list of all of your debts. You go through your credit report, you take a list of all your debts, you put them in order from smallest to largest. And I recognized in that moment when I looked at the full list and I did the calculation that I calculated how much debt I was in. And I sat there and cried when I got the number because I had $69,000 in debt, a little bit more than that. And I recognized that I had been compartmentalizing my debt in order to make myself feel better, to make me feel like it wasn't that bad. And in the midst of doing that, it gave me like, it was like this terrible pass that I was giving myself that I could just ignore it, but it wasn't true. And at that moment I had to face it. And the same happens when I get with my clients, when I do a budget intensive with them and we have to go through their statements and start looking at how much they're spending on things and how much their debt is. They're like, I don't really want to actually show the, did I actually, can I get my money back? Do I have to not do this anymore? And I'm like, no, honey, we're going to do this. Freedom is on the other side of this. So you might as well just come on. This is what we doing. You know,
Yes.
so with that in mind, like, were there other methods that you tried before, like getting your budget, getting this debt free plan that you were like, maybe I can avoid the hard part? Like, did you have any of those things that you tried?
Mm, let's see. Not really. I
Okay.
think I was really confident. And I
Mm,
was really confident in the plan that was presented in Financial Peace University. And that's because we had friends. These are people who we knew their life, we knew how they lived,
hmm.
we were regularly together, and they led the class
Mm,
because they had done the work. And I was like, I trust them.
hmm.
I trust the information,
Yeah.
And so I think those things made a difference. It was, I think, just having that information made sure I didn't do stupid others, I didn't pay other stupid taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I could have tried to do a balanced card transfer, or I
Yeah.
could have gone and, but I did make a few mistakes,
Uh-huh.
like borrowing from my 401k to
Mm,
do, because I was just like, I don't want to go get another loan. I was
yeah.
like, but I'm going to take this little bit, and then we have a way to pay it off. But at 5 years, I was just like, no, we just gonna have to dig in.
Mm,
There's no more trying to shift things around and pay people back. And like, I mean, literally, I remember I'm talking about the little bills that we
mhm.
were starting to pay back. And I remember giving my mom the last of, she lent me a little money so we could buy the kids their first car in cash. And
Mm.
I remember we had worked out a payment arrangement because I was like, we put everything in writing. Okay, this is business. You my mama, but this is business,
Yes.
and I will go without food before I don't stay on this payment schedule with
Mhm.
her. And I remember giving her that money back and just the relief. Literally, when Dave says, Thanksgiving tastes different. I mean, it just, that freedom. And you need those little perks, those
Mhm.
little wins,
Yeah.
um, activate that dopamine
Yeah.
in your brain. And I didn't realize how hungry I was for that.
Yeah.
And so I think that was also the difference maker in our process is, once we laid everything out on the table and we were like, we can't, I don't see a way to do this, but I'm going to do a little bit.
Mhm.
And the power of the brain to say, okay, I mean, if we're doing it, then
Let's do it.
let's do it. Let's just, could we do a little bit less good? Could we do a little bit more over here and a little bit less over there?
Mhm.
And as I mean, and well, what happens when you start doing that. Like,
Yeah.
don't give me no win because I'm going for the bigger win.
Yes. Don't give me a little win because then I'm going for the big. Come on. Yes. I literally felt like every time I paid off a debt, it was like, oh my gosh, I can sit taller. I feel lighter, like my whole spirit, my whole intuition. And I love that. I relate to that so deeply. So then, okay. Okay, you finally got this book. You got into financial peace. I'm curious. The first day you got into financial peace, and they were like, "Here's how we're gonna start." What was your thought?
Where they do that at? I was like, do you know, we got 3 kids.
Mhm.
We're struggling now to make sure that, and you want me to have a $1,000 emergency fund. Now I'm just like, girl, I know how to, I can make it rain $1,000. I mean, like, you just, but I mean, so I was just like, okay, we got to put a little aside, and it's, even if it's $5, even if it's $10, I'm moving toward that in a way I had never done before. And
Yeah.
and I think that's what, at least in our group, that just knowing that information, that some people were able to do that and other people weren't, and then to see my church members, these are people who were my kids' godparents. They
Mhm.
were, other couples that encouraged us on relationship issues to say, hey, we want to make sure you guys win.
Mhm.
One example: we get ready to pay the fee for financial peace, the class, and a tire blows. The
Mm.
total cost of buying a new tire and having it put on our vehicle was the same amount, as I was just like, Murphy, will you just leave us alone? And so we went to our friends and they were like, look, we'll front you the money to get into class because we know that. And I was just like, I will not let this.
Yeah.
It took many years to be able to come back and tell them, you know what you did for us.
Yeah.
You may not have thought it made a difference, but closing off some doors to not going down some really harmful paths
Yeah.
helped us to at least maintain till we could get to a point where we really mentally, I mean, I wish it really were I could just earn more money. It was really where in my mind could I say it's now? Now is the time. I'm not going to wait till the
Right.
perfect conditions present themselves, but I'm going to do what I can where I am. But yeah, that when you ask the question about, that starting point, that's where I think I had to be emotionally ready, and I had to say our dreams are worth it. And
Mhm.
once you can get there, um, I wasn't even really dreaming big. Like moving abroad, like I am suffocating
Mm.
under this
Mm.
debt, and I'm just trying to hold our family, we're trying to hold our family together.
Right.
So yeah, I don't meeting people where they are with information and support. It's also mindset that
Mhm.
I think is so vital to you saying, I'm going to hope for myself one more time.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that's hard because sometimes you feel like you've hoped and it hasn't worked, or you've
Correct.
hoped and it's taken too long, or you've hoped and you've hoped and you've hoped and you've hoped and you've hoped, and now it feels like there's no hope left. And like just saying, I'm going to hope one more time. I'm going to
Yeah.
hope one more time. So I love that. So then when you think about what were the two, okay, so I know getting into the community with financial peace was a huge part. What was the biggest tool that they taught you that really helped you make this move into from idea to like reality to task? This is action.
Write it down.
Hmm. Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah.
Write it down. I look at how we budget now, and literally, I use the wall post-it notes. We use
Yeah.
the wall post-it notes to write down what is due when. And
Mhm.
I'm hopefully I'll have a chance to talk to you about how we restructured our budget with no extra money.
Yes.
That gave us extra money, like that doesn't even make any sense. But
Yeah.
writing it down, writing down what is due in the month and when,
Mhm.
um, took a lot of the gotcha out of
Mm.
our month.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that was, I think, I think writing it down was the biggest tool, and not just our debts, but like how does the month come at us?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not this debt payoff strategy. I had to understand the money flow. So we get paid here,
Yeah.
and no, you don't have extra money because this other thing is coming that there isn't more there. You get the same money in, but different things are due. And so, yeah, I just looking at it from that standpoint, I think, and writing it down was revolutionary for us to take it from theory to practice.
Yeah, listen, I want to repeat that because I said at the beginning, today my guest and her husband are moving abroad, but they decided to do this one thing. And I want to make sure that everybody is listening is understanding that that one thing is a budget. And that
It really
budget
is.
and how you use it is so important to get to the things you want. This is not magic. This is strategy. This is a tool. This is something that is you can use to take this from idea to action. And you listen, I'm into it. So you said you started with your budget one way and then you had to restructure it, which I love that because you're getting into the fact that a budget is a living, breathing thing. This is not a set it and forget it. This is an evolution. As we start getting some traction, as our mindset continues to evolve, as the things that we're learning, as we start to change, like our budget and the way that we manage our money changes with that. So if you're open to it, I would love for you to share like what was that switch like? How did that come about and what did you do?
Okay, so all right, so the budget looks like this. At that time, we had a we were my husband and I were both on a salary, so we knew what money was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
The bills, mm, let's see, the bills were predictable enough.
Okay.
But what I felt would get us is like, I forgot that
Mm-hmm.
when this bill was due. And so what we did was we wrote out what was coming, what was due and when was it due.
Mm-hmm.
We then did a look back on over 6 months to a year. And you can do that easily. Most banks give you access to your account where you can look at, when you paid certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were able to see that, okay, the average utility bill looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
average food bill, which with two teenage sons, the average food bill looks like this. The average cell phone bill looks like this. And so we were able to kind of look at it from when is it due when, and then say, okay, this check would need to cover these bills. We don't get the next check until, and then these bills are due.
Yeah.
And so I just, that's kind of where we started. And I was like, I talked about hands in your pocket
Mm-hmm.
before. And what I realized is there were strategies that I could use to take. It's not that I'm taking hands out of my pocket like I don't owe that anymore. That's what we're doing now.
Right.
I was really trying to say there are fewer times in the year
Mm-hmm.
that you can reach in my pocket.
Mm.
And so I can anticipate those things because and so when we started saying, okay, there are things that we can automate
Right.
because we know generally now how much that's going to be. Now I'm telling you, our income did not change at all.
Mm. Mm.
It was just, okay, so let's automate things like our life insurance. Instead
Mm.
of every month they coming in my account and, oh no, it was the 15th this month and it was the 18th, because of a holiday. And, oh, I'm getting hit with the insufficient funds, with my bank.
Yes.
Now I can say, look, I pay you once a year. Or
Mm-hmm.
with the car, the auto insurance, I pay you twice a year. Anything that I could automate or anything that I could put on a biannual or annual basis,
Yeah.
we paid for. Our son was taking upright bass lessons, but we had to put his instrument on, not on layaway, but like we had a monthly payment to pay for that.
Yeah.
Another thing, if you have young people that have a little money, have them invest in their process. So
Yeah.
he was 18, 19, and I was just like, okay, so how much do you want to contribute to paying off your instrument? Because I was like, every month they're in my pocket for this instrument. So he paid something like $200 and we paid like $400, and bam, that went away.
Yeah.
So literally we were looking at, is there a way to take those multiple hands out of our pocket? And then look, now we've got more money. We've
Mm-hmm.
got more money. And so, but now we have the target. So I'm like, we will always have these bills that are going to come in this cadence.
Yeah.
And then once we started having a little bit more money,
Mm-hmm.
then we were able to shift back to what we had done from the beginning of our marriage. And I
Mm.
have to say, The Complete Financial Guide for Young Couples
Okay.
was a pivotal book that a friend that got married 2 years before my husband and I, she was reading it at her sister's graduation, who was my college roommate. And I was like, I need to get this book because she let me read it while we were together. And that is the book that I have given every couple going
Mm-hmm.
forward because it gives just real basic facts. But one of the things that Larry Burkett talked about was living on one income.
Mm.
And we were able to live on one income. I stayed home with the kids and my husband worked. Well, once we started, the kids were in private school and all of those bills, we had to merge the account again. But we had always desired to slowly go back to living on one income. And
Mm-hmm.
so restructuring the budget then helped us to begin to take more of those things off of our plate, where there are things that we never, I'm trying to remember, when did we have cable or if we ever had cable, but any little thing that we could take out of our budget,
Mhm.
or pay off or put on a schedule that gave us a little bit more leeway, then we could start looking at, okay, now debt repayment can be a part of our monthly budget. But it wasn't until I knew what was coming in,
Yeah.
when was it coming in,
Yeah.
and then who were the players that I wanted at the table, and who could I say, you can ring the doorbell once or twice a year and come to dinner, and others I was like, you're not welcome here.
Right.
So you when you can feel like you have that level of power,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like then I could take some new steps. Um, and it was a few years before 5 years ago where we started to get a little bit of traction just from that budget redo.
Okay. Yes. That budget helped me pay off $69,000 in debt in 2.5 years. That budget helped me um start putting away an emergency fund. That budget help me travel the world for 3 years with the income that I had already made. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
That budget
mhm.
helped me really know, like you said, avoid the gotchas so
Yep.
that I had less emergencies. Like that's the thing. A lot of times we have emergencies, but it's the gotcha. I like that word better because it's not an emergency. An emergency is like something that you completely didn't expect. Not I
Right.
forgot. You know what I mean? The gotcha is I forgot. The emergency is something like dramatically went wrong that I could not actually prepare for. And so when I
Right.
got the budget, it helped me have a space. The budget plus the emergency fund helped me have a space to manage for both of those. And like you also said, that strategic way of looking at when payments are due, how much they're due, and having a plan, having a strategy for that, rather than just having everybody just picking
Pick, pick,
money like
pick.
you a
Yep.
money tree. We over here. We don't have trees over here. So I love all of that. Yes. Okay. So y'all thinking about, I know half of y'all out here are like, but budgets are restrictive. It keeps me from doing this. I just feel like I can't live my life. Okay, D, what would you say to that person? Because we didn't learn the real stuff here.
Right. Well, look, I we had to find a budget that worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think the goal of every budget is to for you to tell your money where you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are so many budget strategies
Mm-hmm.
that could help you do the things that you need to do and then give you the freedom to do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, kind of having that as a vision for myself is why I said, okay, so let's find something that works. Even though I don't have a vocabulary to talk about money, I
Mm-hmm.
need to at least know what is coming in
Mm-hmm.
and what's going out and when it needs to go out. And I think that's the for me that was the basic fundamentals of a budget.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I found out once I got into the budget, I actually had more freedom to do some of the things that I wanted to do than I did before because I wasn't just spending little things on meaningless things. I was actually putting the money to places that I wanted it to be rather than opening my account and being like, crap, I didn't realize I had spent that much. You know what I mean? It was less like my money was flying away from me. And like you said, I was telling my money where I wanted it to go. And I actually had more control of it rather than this kind of go with the flow, which listen, I hate when people say go with the flow. If you're gonna go with the flow, I hope you got a rudder in the boat that's you directing that. Because otherwise that flow gonna take you somewhere you don't want to be. You're gonna end up off the
Right.
side of a cliff.
Which is so important. A budget didn't make the motivation to even think about a budget made no sense until we had a goal. Once we
Yes.
got super clear, I was just like, okay, so what's going to help me to get there?
Yeah.
And it was like a budget is unavoidable because what we wanted to do took money.
Yeah.
And so that means I got to look at the money, which means I then needed to be able to say, well, what's coming in, what's going out, and can I really do the things that I now want to be able to do? And that I think the more clear over time, the clearer your goal is, which means just like with the budget, you have a budget and then you rework the budget and then you rework the budget. Your goal needs to it needs to continue to evolve and get clearer and clearer. And then as you are accomplishing things, it can grow to other things, which means now my budget and mindset and all those things have relevance
Yeah.
to my process. So yeah, if you're just trying to say, well, you need a budget, it's like you need a mink coat. Why?
Right.
But
Right.
if you're going to Antarctica, I'm gonna need some serious insulation. Now a fur coat might make more sense, than just something random. So yeah, that's what we had to have something like that because otherwise it was easier to stay comfortable even in the discomfort that was
Mm-hmm.
comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I appreciate that so much. And that's why in my program, I we start with talking about who you are, but then we quickly get into your vision. And then when we get into the strategy, we get into the time and energy budget, but we also get into the financial budget because you didn't spend all that time dreaming and thinking about all these amazing aspirations to let it fall flat because you didn't have the resources that were going to help you take the action. You when you know what you're building, it gives you the motivation to do the discipline. But when you have the discipline, it gives you the resources you need to do the dream. You know what I mean? So the cycle that comes so closely together, which is why I
It's a
talk about both
muscle.
parts.
It's a muscle, y'all. It's a
Yeah.
muscle.
Mm-hmm.
We were flabby. I mean, if you think back to the old Saturday Night Live, wimpy, wimpy, it was something we had to build. It was
Yeah.
something that we needed to touch, not just when we got paid.
Yeah.
Like we we got to the point where we had to develop a habit of looking at the account every day.
Mm-hmm.
I had a debit card, my husband had a debit card, like we
Yes.
spending money, we got to talk about it. I mean, all of these are skills that take time to learn.
Yeah.
It is a muscle that needs to be stretched and
Yeah.
built over time. And so I think when people think a budget, it's like something that snaps into place,
Mm.
and then, you know, but no, I think it's something that you build a structure. It's you can take the nails out and restructure it based on what the reality settles into.
Yeah.
Even if you're not ready to do it hardcore,
Yeah.
it's kind of like I used with losing weight in the past. I was just like, okay, maybe what I need to do is just plan for this. If
Yeah.
I can do this one aspect of budgeting, that may be the thing that I start with to help build that muscle.
Yeah.
If that is, hey, I'm going to eat out,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to give myself $50
Right.
to eat out for the month
Right.
over the 2 weeks.
Right.
Okay. And I have $50 in cash.
Right.
That can make a huge, that is a budget.
Right.
People don't think you thinking you got
Right.
to do all these. No, I want to handle this one part. Or for a lot of us, the food budget, especially with the family, the food budget is a big evolving thing. I
Yeah.
don't want to cook. We're going to go out to eat. That's part of the food budget.
Yeah.
Man, when I started saying we have this amount of money for food and then the eat out, I was like, that could have fed us for a half a week. It starts to make it starts to become relevant. And I
Yeah.
think when you're looking at a budget, I think I see relevance.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that could have what is something that could have meaning for you that you're willing there's the willingness to be
Yeah.
able to shift or to change or to have eyes on.
Yeah.
And then if that goes well, or if you feel you're beginning to feel confident, like, hey, I can anticipate those things, like I know at least twice a week I'm not going to want to cook. So
Mm-hmm.
that means I need to
Yeah.
go to the store and buy those pizzas that I
Yeah.
can put some toppings on. And then I've built convenience into my budget that fits into my budget mindset. I feel like those things, if it doesn't match with your reality, like a budget is like a piece of paper that I
Yeah.
can walk over that. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have any meaning.
Yeah.
It doesn't, because it doesn't make sense to either my goal or what I'm willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also talked about like letting go of that all or nothing. I think the other thing with the budget is like we feel, oh, because I have a budget, I can't have any money to eat out. I can't have any money to do anything fun. I can't have any money to do any entertainment. But what you actually said was instead of just taking the top off of it and doing whatever you want, make a plan that allows you to fit into your budget so that you can have a bit of both. Instead of going out every single day, go out twice that week or go out once that week and then keep the other where you get a treat that you make at home. And it's where some of the creativity and the fun, like this can actually having a budget, paying off debt, getting to this point where you have the financial freedom to actually do some of our big dreams. And some of our big dreams are just to have a simple life. Like there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. To not have to worry about money coming in and out. That's a big dream. That's a beautiful big dream. But we don't get that if we don't take the time to use the tool that's going to give us the discipline that's going to get us there. And this is some of the mindset shifts that have to come out. I remember one of the biggest mindset shifts, again, around food. Food was a thing for money with me. I recognized that I would spend a lot of money on food, but then I also had been told since I was a kid kid, you can't leave anything on the plate. So then I
Uh-huh.
would eat all of the food and it was making me gain weight. And oh, all of these things are connected. And when we start actually finding that discipline, girl, I lost like 50 pounds like it was nothing. I had money that I was able to spend on extra trips. I was paying off debt, like all of this discipline. And it was simple though. And it actually wasn't that bad. Like it was actually great. All of these
Mhm.
things started to blossom. These are flowers that have been wanting to blossom, but we didn't know how to water them. And a budget was the discipline that really was the water that was poured on that plant to help it bloom. And it was one of the best experiences that I have. So that being said, okay, you guys have been on a budget for how long now? Like now looking at this, like what gets you excited about where you guys are going?
Well, I think with a budget, I am excited because it's a path. Like I
Mm,
can know here is our beginning,
mm-hmm.
here is our middle,
Yeah.
here we have accomplished what we have. So I have on this wall,
Mm-hmm.
it says opulent and it says reality.
Mm,
And so our opulent savings, there's a
mm,
column for that, and our optimal, what I want to have in the retirement account, and then what I want, the budget pieces that I talked about in the very beginning
yeah.
about, just kind of our startup funds, because I think for me, peace.
Mm,
The move abroad process has to have peace in it. And for
yeah.
me, the main part of being able to do this is the ability to say I left and that I came back when I wanted to. And I wasn't forced to come back because I had ran out of money or I hadn't been thoughtful. The budget pieces are nice for getting me to those goals, but I'm going to need to live on a budget even after I leave. It's not like, it's going to evolve, the relevance, what we do, but this is a muscle that we're going to continue to have. And so I just feel like, for me, I will feel safe. I mean, literally, I'm using strategic words here. I feel safe when I know I have put some distance between me and risk.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's with having insurance, being able to have enough if I have an emergency to come back home.
Yeah.
Those things, I mean, those things really have meaning for me. And because we've been able to practice different things like living on one income,
Mm-hmm.
we've practiced sitting down and talking about our money and how we're spending it and what we want to spend it on. In over time to
Yeah.
pay off big debt, to get these buckets of funds ready for the move abroad. I think it's also given a lot of confidence
Mm-hmm.
that we're going to give this process the best chance.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be as smart
Yeah.
about it, but also building in that flexibility that's needed when you are literally changing your life, your
Yeah.
lifestyle, not just your place.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so relatable. And I think that leads into my next question, which when you think about that safety, like what are some of the big results? Like what are the biggest things that you can look back and say that happened because we were on this budget?
Okay, you touched it. um, my husband got really sick.
Mm,
So 5 years ago, we had started the process of paying off the debts. My student loans were the big debt, and so
mhm,
we had the little things, the 500s, the paying off my son's, instrument and things like that, as a part of the budget. And as we were paying those things off, I had probably the 401k loan was the thing that we really wanted to turn back around. It was like 2 or 3 months, and he said, this was February of 2020. He said, pay it off.
mhm.
And I was like, but I want to have some savings, because I don't like to be, I want to have that risk buffer. And he said, if we have it, pay it off. And so that put us on the basement floor. With now we've structured the budget. We have as many hands out of our pockets as possible. But we did that in February. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, he got sick.
Mm.
Uh, he got sick and he had a stroke.
Mm.
Now, we were less than 50 years old with young adults at home, and I was like, "What in the world?" I
Yeah.
mean, like, what in the world? And having the savings buffer brought peace.
Mhm.
Having the debts we knew we had automated, anything that could be automated so that there's an account that just handles those automated bills
Mhm.
every month. We
Mhm.
check it, we look at it, we knew exactly how much money we had,
Mhm.
and where it was going. Just that in the when I could have lost my husband, just ooh, just
Yeah.
it brought peace. While I could figure things out, and thankfully he didn't have any. There were no findings on his test. He was just like, okay, so you had this event, but you're gonna be okay. He's strong. He's walking. I mean, he didn't have to do any of the rehab,
Mhm.
um, and and the piece of saying, get the care you need because we have a savings,
Mhm.
get the care you need. Y'all, people are making day by day decisions about, do I have the money to take my medicine? But because we were doing things thinking about, we just want it to be better. I didn't realize in a crisis that if we were living on two incomes, like I would be like out of my mind. How are
Mhm.
we going to handle that? And
Mhm.
so we were able to get through $7,000 of hospital and
Wow.
healthcare bills
Wow.
because we had a strategy. Even if we didn't have all of those funds, I was just like, okay, so what we're putting in savings, we're going to be able to pay this off in X amount of time. And a week after he had his stroke, the world shut down
Yeah.
because of the pandemic.
Wow.
And so that meant the blessing was I had already been part time remote. I was full time remote at home. Even though his job was in person, because the school was shut down, there wasn't anything he could do but focus on his recovery.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity to not be overstressed,
Yeah.
we were still in the process of, okay, so now we have a whole lot more money because we're not eating out, we're not,
Yeah.
we're eating at home, we're cooking at home. We had paid off bills. Even though he's still going to the doctors, we're paying literally, what is the bill, let's pay it, what is the bill, let's pay it, what is the bill. So that piece wound its way through a critical part of our lives, but then set us up for, okay, so now that we have more money,
Yeah.
then what do we want to do with it? And we had already targeted out. Once we have, then we just lined up my student loans from smallest to largest. They were federal loans, which was a blessing because we were required, no payment was required at the beginning of the pandemic. They also stopped the interest by
Mhm.
2021, and that once things were in place and we were just like, okay, so we can pay this one off and that one off, and it was just like we knocked out two of these and just one. Oh, now let's get things going. So I think for me, there was the unexpected blessing
Mhm.
that a budget and having that structure gave me as a wife,
Mhm.
gave me as a person who could easily have felt more than overwhelmed by the situation, but like circumstances and just trying to keep,
Yeah.
more than keep my head above water, but like not sinking.
Yeah.
That was the blessing. That was the blessing for me of a budget. Who thinks of a budget being a blessing? Not many people. Now, in the context of my lived experience, I now see why it was so important, and that these habits, we were glad that we had spent the time and had the struggles and I don't want to be confined and I work I should enjoy my money kinds of, whether we said it in words or that was what I was thinking. I don't work to pay bills.
Right.
And so we had to, the budget really had to be, have that relevance for
Yeah.
us. But when the floor dropped out, I was so glad that we had.
Dee, that's such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing that because you said I touched it and I was like, Lord, what did I accidentally touch? But
Well, it's my husband's birthday today, and we have
yeah,
talked about just the blessing of not only his survival, but thriving, and that we
yeah,
can thrive with these big dreams.
yeah.
Like, who thought 4 years ago, when I could have been in the depths of despair, that like the whole universe was saying, "Oh, I'm going to honor the discipline that you put
Mm,
in." Like, you have been in the trenches. You have shed bitter tears because of what you wanted,
hmm.
but you were putting in the work. And here is a beautiful example of why that work works for you with this unexpected situation. So I'll take a budget any day that gives me that kind of peace in a horrible storm.
Yeah. You just gave me goosebumps. I mean, my whole head, all the goosebumps, all the things. And it's so, so powerful. So again, I'm just like so grateful that you shared that with us. Listen, y'all, like that in itself, I can't imagine being in your situation and how much harder it would have been had you not had that same safety that you were just saying that the budget created for you. Getting to experience it to that level. Oh my goodness. Okay. So then now fast forward to today, you've seen how great this could be, and you also know how sometimes the discipline is like a sometimes we got to remind ourselves to be disciplined. Like, what's the number one thing that you would tell somebody who's like, listen, y'all, this is, if I can't tell you anything else, this is my one tip about a budget, like maintaining a budget that'll help you get through.
Maintaining a budget. I think it is, keep plugging at it. I don't think that there are any mistakes. Like, you just
Mm-hmm.
learned that didn't work. Like,
Mm-hmm.
planning a $400 food budget for a family of five for the month is not going to work. So you got to find out what does work. There are going to be unexpected things that happen, that blow your budget, and you just say, "Look, we're going to clean this up, and then we're going to get back on track."
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, the most powerful thing, and on our channel we talk about this continuously, is it is really hard to do the hard, especially do the hard things,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
especially to do the new thing, especially to do something that requires both a mindset and action with skills or
Yeah.
new skills, to
Yeah.
do it in isolation, to do it alone.
Yeah.
I was very grateful to have my husband, but I was abundantly grateful to have other couple friends, other
Mm-hmm.
friends that said, "We are in this, we have been through this, and you can make it to the other side." Community is so vital,
Yeah.
because when you have a big debt, I mean, and big is really relative to you.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Mine was a six-figure debt. I mean, like, most people are like, "Girl, I don't know." But the only, we got jobs, and we got extra jobs, and we got, we did some, a lot of financial gymnastics, as far as like, we slimmed down our budget to live on one income, and then took the entire salary and put it toward, I mean, like, we were doing some major hardcore stuff. But when you're doing that alone, and you don't have folks that are talking about the thing,
Mm,
and they're sharing their stories, and you're picking up some new strategies, you're picking up
yeah.
some encouragement, I told you, you were on my debt-free scream playlist. Okay. That was my community. That was how I kept myself encouraged. If
Yeah.
you're doing this in isolation, you're doing this without a supporter, without a supportive community, then I don't it is really difficult. There's so much more effort that you have to put into this process, that
Mm,
I think community says, "I'm not alone,"
yeah.
and that I don't have to reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
and that I can come and say, I did this thing, and people won't go, oh, you paid out $500? And we will like applaud you with, I put $20 toward my $1,000 emergency fund, and we're going to literally flip tables for joy.
Yes.
You need a coach who's there to say, I see you
Yeah.
and I affirm your feelings. I affirm that this is difficult. It is new, not just difficult, that it's a new thing, and
Yeah.
that a new thing has value for you because you have said this is where you want to go. And every step toward that is a step that says either I probably don't need to do that again, or I need to learn how to get that balance back, get that
Mhm.
resilience back. Don't just get down.
Yeah.
It's the getting back up that I think with a budget, I think you have to have that level of grace.
Mhm.
But focus.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Grace, focus, community. There was something else you said at the beginning. Um, getting back on when it feels like things have fallen off. Oh yes. So y'all, so many great nuggets in here. And that leads me to you guys. Dee is amazing. I love hanging out with her. You also need to hang out with her on her YouTube channel. Dee, tell everybody your YouTube information. Tell them all the things that they could do to get connected with you.
Yeah, so let's see. So my husband and I share our financial journey, but also just the move abroad process on our channel H and D Abroad. So the letter H, AND, and DEE Abroad. That's
Hmm.
our channel. We're live talking about literally the reality
Hmm.
of all the components that it takes to do this new thing, where we are closing down a lot of our life in the U.S. to have a lifestyle that allows us to travel or be in places outside the US that will maximize our time together.
Yeah.
That was a huge motivator. I was like, I want to spend more time with my husband and
Yeah.
not have to give so much time to work.
Yeah.
And so that those are the things that we're sharing. As a person who is a part of the neurodivergent community, I'm also talking about how this process looks a little different for those of us who need a few more cues to help keep us focused on the journey, including the financial journey. And so I have tailored experiences, and I say that because right now we're just doing the consulting
Hmm.
part, but that I'm hoping that sharing our story helps people to see a little bit of themselves where they want to say, okay, so you may not have moved yet,
Hmm.
but I can see that if I get this set of tools from you, if I can learn how to look at my budget or talk to my partner about
Yeah.
doing things a little different so that we can have a savings. Girl,
Yeah.
I didn't even get a chance to talk to you about that. Savings isn't just what's left over.
Yes, Nancy. Yes.
So yeah, we're doing that, and then just as we're getting ready, getting through the holidays, at the new year, we're going to start with our Move Abroad Masterclass for
Mm.
couples to begin the conversation about, look, we got to pull. I'm ready to dream a new dream, and we're doing that in community together. So yeah, the individual consulting is what we're offering through the end of this year, and then we'll be hosting the masterclass in January.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to make sure in the description there is the link to Dee's channel. There's going to be the link to her consulting offerings, and then get on her email list so that when it's time for the stuff to happen in January, you already got the connection. You already got the link so that you can make sure you get some time with Dee because she's lived it. She's lived it, and so much joy, so much freedom, so much life experience comes from Dee and from her husband. Don't think that just because he's not on here that he don't got nothing to say. He got good stuff to say too. So you make sure you get over on their channel so you can get all of this goodness up in here. Okay.
Yeah,
So yes, thank you. Yes, like I'm putting it in the description, so don't play around. Like make sure you get down there and get it. So then, yes,
absolutely.
Dee, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Anytime. What is really disappointing to me is that
Mm.
money has had a chokehold on my dream, and
Hmm.
and kept was that barrier for me,
Yeah.
where I literally didn't feel like I could dream. Like it was,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of the word where, I didn't deserve to dream because I had debt. And like no
Mm.
one should ever feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, um, learn the skills, get in community, get help, because even if it's baby steps, you are inching toward your dream. Color it in,
Yeah.
talk about it,
Yeah.
because you are meant to dream.
Yeah.
Your dream isn't just it is. I feel like it is divinely given. And so what I have learned is if my dream is divinely given,
Mm-hmm.
then I need to say to the divine, what
Mm-hmm.
are the steps I need to take that you're going to help me with? You gave me this dream,
Yes. Yes.
then you're going to help me. And so I hope that this video finds you as a part of that divine alignment,
Yes.
that you're able to find a coach,
Yes.
and that when you are in that relationship, that you can feel safe in sharing your dream and
Yeah.
growing your dream and capturing it with both hands.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I yes and amen to every single one of those pieces. Listen, because we done already done conversations together.
Yeah.
I'm all about getting clarity of your dreams. I'm all about I think it's so hard that for the longest time we felt like our dream could only be one thing. And then when someone tells us that it could be something else, we're like, well, wait, I don't even know what I would choose. And we're like a deer in headlights. And we're like, well, how the heck do I figure out what it is I want? Maybe I want what D wants, but maybe I want something else and I don't even know it. What are all the options and all of those things? I get it. It's so many options and it's scary, but let it be the kind of scary that's like the terrifying, like you get on a roller coaster and you're like, oh, this can actually be fun, but I'm also really scared. And if that's you, and if you're feeling about that multiple times, D has said, get a coach. I would love to help you. I would love to help you get all of those things out of your mind and say, I need to figure out she's telling me to color in the lines, but I don't even know what the lines are on the page. Like I need to put some lines on the page for me to color in. Then I would love to help you put the lines on the page to color in. That's what I love to do. So all of those dreams you have, all of the little things that feel like they're spread out all over the page, the puzzle pieces that you don't quite know how to fit together, to make the picture of what you want your amazing life to look like. I would love to help you get that puzzle all figured out. So if you're interested in that, make sure you take a second. I will put my information. Which reminds me, gosh, we've gone this whole video. Hi, y'all. I'm Rashida, your dream strategist. I forgot all about that. Yes, happy to introduce myself. I help Black women really balance their aspirations in the soft life we want to create. Because we come in and talk about, I'm gonna live a soft life, but we do it in this really strong bulldozing way when it actually it could be a little bit less than that. We could take it
Yeah.
easy. And so I help us figure out how to navigate that so that we can create this life that we actually want. We can quit being strong and we can actually have that soft life. So we're gonna be talking about not just debt, but these different visions of freedom and what does it look like to create our specific vision of freedom, and then talking about how do we create it. This is not just about theory. These are women, specifically Black women, like this amazing woman right here, creating this amazing life. And we're going to talk about it on just about every single video. I mean, the only other videos are going to be fun where we're dancing or traveling or something about that. But anyway, you're going to love all of it. So share this video with another Black woman who is ready to write out her dream and to have her budget, like to start using her finances to build her dream. And then go ahead and get a consultation with D. You need to just go over there, get on her channel, get a consultation with D, and then we'll start clarifying what your dream is going to look like. Can you tell we got the whole thing scheduled out for you? We got it figured out for you.
Look,
So use the
look,
resources, okay? Okay.
absolutely.
That's it. Thank you, D. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm
And thank
so honored to share the space with you, to share this time with your audience.
Yes, it's our pleasure. It is our pleasure. And thank you guys for watching. So we'll talk to you soon. Y'all have a good rest of your day.